Hey everyone, how's it going? It's your boy Skilled Fawn, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than usual. Instead of the normal challenge run, I want to take some time to talk about Nightreign, specifically Everdark Sovereign Libra. From the awesome to the bad, there's a lot to be said regarding this iconic Nightreign boss. Make sure to smash the like button, comment, and subscribe. Bell icon to be notified when I post similar videos. Without further ado, let's jump into it. I just want to quickly say that this is my opinion. Completed over 500 plus expeditions on Nightreign, alongside spending numerous hours on the main game of Elden Ring. I implore you to watch the full video before commenting. Be interested to hear your thoughts below afterwards. For those unfamiliar to Nightreign, let me explain a couple terms first. There are multiple night bosses that players can select before entering a match. Everdark Sovereigns are variants of the night bosses with enhanced movesets, massively changing the fight, making things much more challenging. Next is I will mention the Madness status effect. Like all status effects, it takes more than a few hits to proc, causing the individual affected to go insane, losing HP and FP. With that out of the way, let's talk about Everdark Sovereign Libra. Before we had Everdark Sovereign Libra, we started initially with the Gaping Jaw in full gore fights, Everdark Sovereign. These are definitely great fights, and especially full gore, it feels epic as hell. Regardless, after the first few attempts, players got the hang of the fight quite easily, and ultimately it became a nearly guaranteed W. Now obviously it's not 100% guaranteed, but generally in the games I played, most players would understand the moveset, which resulted in a win. Other bosses followed suit regarding their difficulty. While Everdark Sovereign Noster was fun, it wasn't all that challenging. Caligo and the remaining bosses that I haven't mentioned are all quite similar. Everdark Sovereign Libra, on the other hand, is something that I find to be really fun, alongside being actually difficult. Even after playing him 50 plus times, the outcome of his fight is always in flux, never a guaranteed win. I've had insane matches where teammates and I had insane gear. Pike's War Spear, great legendaries, passive and special effects, multiple Wending Graces, and Nokron's Gift. Even with that gear, there have been multiple times where we just get destroyed. Let me explain the fight. Everdark Sovereign Libra starts in his merchant state, similarly to his base version. Here the player can accept buffs, but at a great cost. One of my favorites has to be the eventual greatness effect. This halves the player's HP, FP, and stamina for 2 minutes, and after the time has elapsed, the player then gains a massive boost to the aforementioned effects. Depending on the player's damage and stagger timings, Libra will enter his Everdark Sovereign version around 70% health and onward. One strategy I've seen has been stacking a ton of buffs to increase damage, ultimately to lower his health quickly before he goes into phase 2. During phase 2, the boss will summon minions, mimicking the player's characters. In my opinion, I think there are 2 ways to tackle this fight: going for massive damage with high damage buffs, or stacking defensive ones. I personally find the defensive buffs to be the best in most situations, alongside having similar relics. From successive attacks reducing damage to reduced damage when at full HP, these are really useful in this fight. One super underrated thing that I see people use rarely are relics that heal all teammates alongside the slow flask restoration. Generally, when I go for Everjails and see this option alongside buffing flask restoration, we'll always choose that over other options. See some people say how the slow healing isn't worth it, but in this fight it can massively change the scales of battle, allowing all teammates to possibly tank some damage or charge in for attacks. This boss deals the Madness status effect, which can only be applied to human-like enemies, in specific cases like Libra. When the status bar is filled, the individual affected will go insane, screaming, losing HP and FP as I mentioned earlier. This also locks the player into an animation, which generally means getting hit a second time or even death. So because of this, make sure to go around and picking up all the loot drops from his incantations and stuff, so you reduce your madness. Because of the mimics, RNG of weapons, and so on, this fight is super different and challenges players each time they get to it. This is one of the many reasons this fight is the best in Nightreign in my opinion, since it's actually one of the more difficult ones. Each Soulsborne game has one or many tough bosses that people gravitate towards for being fun yet extremely tough. I think Nightreign's is Everdark Sovereign Libra. In Bloodborne you got Orphan of Kos, Melania, and main game Elden Ring. I guess 3, it could be like Nameless King and so on. It's just those types of fights that I think people really gravitate toward. Post-editing Skilled Fawn here. While editing this video, the newest Nightreign patch was released. There are a lot of things this was meant to fix and update, but I want to focus on the Everdark Sovereign Libra fight. Put up on screen now the changes. Ultimately, I knew that this would eventually come/get patched, similarly to Radon, Consort of Mikola, and other bosses. The boss has a known reputation for being extremely difficult. The devs will often nerf that boss, but there are some exceptions. Like I think people will definitely complain about BBK and the Deathrite birds and stuff, but I think it's like there's like 2 different takes on that for being like BS. Libra on one hand, it's like almost, there are times where like you'll get like wombo comboed by 4 things, and that can feel like quite unfair, but Death Ray Bird and the Blackblade Kindred, they're pretty fair in my opinion. I don't know, I've seen some other people complain and like compare and contrast those. Figured I'd throw my thoughts there. This is a good and bad thing, so let me explain. I can understand to a point why the boss was nerfed, such as newer players just joining the game. I can't understand why so many aspects of his fight were attacked though. There are 7 aspects that are being changed. These are super broad. One thing that I dislike for patch notes is when the devs do not include numbers for players to compare. An example of this could be using the devs patch notes. They say reduce the attack power of the condemned guardian. You know, if I was writing this, I would put like previously 100% and now is 80%. And, you know, that's probably not actually the numbers, but you know, just for an example. I think it is important to include quantitative values, otherwise it can be interpreted almost infinitely. While I am disappointed to see them nerf one of my favorite bosses in Nightreign, possibly the Souls series as a whole, it's nice to see them listening and responding to feedback, like some other devs. Texas Chainsaw Massacre and DVD, I'm looking at you. In the future, I can see them reversing the changes if enough people don't like it, but unfortunately, I think it's here to stay. Similar to the base game Radon and DLC Radon, it's been nice to say I beat them in Libra pre-patch. Before I go, I want to quickly talk about something I noticed. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts below. I stream Nightreign fairly often, almost daily. Whenever I open OBS, change the title, and so on, I'll always notice the viewer count for that game. Recently, I noticed it dipped below 1k viewers, which has been shocking to me. The main game of Elden Ring, non-Nightreign, had at least like 5k viewers for months and months afterward. I personally think that because they made solo a nearly guaranteed win, pushed some players away. More people, I think, are interested in solo, and then, you know, forces them to play co-op, and you know, if you played Nightreign for like over 5 hours, you'll know that like some matches you'll just join in and people just leave just like that, just because something just like slightly pissed them off or something. Let me know your thoughts on this. I'd be really interested to hear your comments. Nightreign is such an awesome game, though it does have many flaws. I think nerfing Libra is one of those. There needs to be that one or few bosses that have a menacingly aura about them that makes players gravitate towards their fights. Elena and Radon are a great example from the main game. I plan to keep playing and streaming the game, so be on the lookout. This is such an interesting and unique boss. I find myself enjoying it the most out of the Nightreign Everdark Sovereign bosses. I'm excited to see what is in store for Nightreign, especially Everdark Sovereign Holster. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. This greatly helps to support me and the channel, alongside pushing the video to others who may be interested. Try to do something kind for someone today, whether it's a small or large gesture. This is your boy Skilled Fawn, and I'm out.